obviously one more game in the regular league campaign. Bit of a strange one that it's going to be a game that both teams are going into with something else on their mind.
Of course, as you say, we've both probably got the playoffs now, so it's still a game. So we'll still look to implement our stuff and try and win.
And being at home as well, having the last regular league game at home, it's a good chance to send both the players and the support into the playoffs on a positive note by getting that one.
For sure, we need to go into the playoffs with a bit of momentum, so I think it'll be important to pick up 3 points on Saturday.
How are you feeling yourself? Obviously had a wee bit of a injury, you've kind of worked your way back in, getting some minutes. How are you feeling? Are you feeling up to speed? Still a wee bit off it?
No, I feel okay now. As you say, I just had a wee bit of a problem on my hip, but had a few minutes in the last few weekends, so now I'm feeling good.
It's a season, it's been a very busy season. It's been a season of ups and downs, I think it's fair to say. Most of the downs earlier on, most of the ups more recently. But we've got so much left to play for, albeit maybe not so much riding on Friday night. What's the mood in the camp?
We're all looking forward to it. We know we've got a job to do, and that's stay in the league. So everybody's up for it, and we'll be aiming for those 4 games. We'll look at the first 2, take care of them hopefully, and then focus on the last 2 then.
What do you expect from Ayr? Kind of touched on it already. They're preparing for playoffs of their own. I know they had a number of changes to what you would say is their usual lineup on Saturday there. But I guess it's a team we've played 3 times, so even the way substitutions work, there's not going to be many players on the park that we haven't come up against, at least at some point.
For sure. Ayr are a strong team, and their position in the league shows that. Regardless who plays, they're strong, and anybody looking in from the outside can see that. And they've got really good depth, but yeah.
And I suppose everything we say about wanting to take momentum into the playoffs for us applies in their camp as well, especially given they've kind of tailed off the last few games. They'll be wanting to go in with a win under their belts. Absolutely.
As you say, we'll be trying to get a bit of momentum going into the games, and so will they. So should be a good game.
And if you do get yourself involved at some point during the match on Friday night, one last chance to add to the goal tally before the playoffs start, so that'd be a good opportunity just to snag a couple more goals.
Hopefully, aye. I love scoring goals, so do anything I can to try and do that.
Club's top goal scorer and our top goal scorer in the league as well, but I suppose you're always, when there's another game left, you're just wanting to make sure you get that over the line.
Aye, for sure. It's just one of those things, if the goals come, and that's good, but helping the team and helping everybody out is the main thing, and it's nice obviously to score.
We'll go into Friday night, like we said, with our eye on what's to come after that, but the confidence must be high. I know the last couple of games haven't been victories, but there must be real confidence that we have more than enough to prove we could be staying in this division.
For sure. I think we had a wee blip a couple of weeks ago here, but it's just one of those things. We've really turned it around since the turn of the year, and we've gained a lot of points. So we'll be looking forward to the game obviously, and we'll try and get a bit of momentum.
Brilliant, Ben. We'll see you on Friday night. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Rhys, I suppose just before we move on to Friday night, any kind of lingering reflections on Saturday?
Listen, I think the game for both teams lacked that probably a wee bit of wow factor, and certainly in the final third. But as I said, I think looking at the game back and stuff, I think on the basis of the chances and what we created, we were never really in danger. I never thought like we were going to lose the game. And arguably another day, maybe could have nicked the 3 points, but clean sheet, especially after the performance, and obviously we take the positives. Maybe
just the only wee concern, 2 games in a row without a goal, perhaps a wee bit frustrating, but ultimately, like you say, we got that point, and you just kind of move on from there, I suppose. Aye, but listen, we still created chances, so that top end of the pitch with the firepower and that we've got, it's not really something that I'm overly worried about. Friday becomes a bit of a strange game to prepare for, because I guess you want to finish the season strongly. It's the home game to end the league campaign on, but there are bigger fish to fry come the playoffs, so does that play into your thinking? Slightly, yeah, of course. You don't want, obviously, boys going into the game kind of burnt out, and obviously it's a game as well that Ayr will be doing the same thing on the flip side of that, so it's not that you want to take your foot off the gas or anything like that, because you still want to have a bit of momentum and confidence going into the playoffs, but
obviously there's other factors as well, with probably the appeal and whatnot as well. So a few things to think about, and like we say, we've got to obviously do as best we can to approach the game like any other. We'll try and win it, but at the same time have a wee thought on the games during the week.
Like you say, Ayr, very similar position, the position we were in more or less end of last season, where you're wanting to go into the promotion playoffs on a high, but just like us, they're not going to be taking unnecessary risks on players because they've got those games coming so thick and fast following Friday night.
Of course, it's the exact same, and like I say, I've been there, we've done it. It's a grueling time. It's almost like a kind of mini season on top of a season, even just the emotion and everything that comes with it. So like I say, you've got to make sure that the boys rest as much as they can, mentally as well as physically. Try and get some minutes into boys, try and get obviously boys off at certain times so that you're not doing too much, and then the big thing for me is obviously going to be the recovery time from after the game's finished to obviously midweek.
And I guess that's the big part of it, right? You want to go into the playoffs with momentum behind you, and a home victory over Ayr, something we've not managed for a wee while, would put us in with good gusto. But you've got to take all those other things into consideration, not least we know what playoffs are like, right? We're very accustomed to them now. They can be grueling if you go through all 4 of them, and there's a tight turnaround in them, so you've got to be keeping that in mind and making sure your squad is fit and ready to go as possible.
Of course, and that's why I've stressed the point for months, and probably since I've come in here, it's a squad game. So everybody's got to be ready to feature at any point. There's circumstances and factors in the game can happen, plus on the back of that as well, you still don't know mathematically who we're going to be playing, which is obviously, it's no ideal in terms of preparation. So we've got to approach everything just now as if we're just taking care of ourselves, and then obviously when we get a wee bit clearer indication of what's going to be happening moving forward, then we can start to plan and prepare.
Speaking of what we've got in our situation, what's the injury situation like just now? Obviously Gratz, Alex, Aidan in particular were missing. How are they?
Good. There's, again, it's probably at that time of the season where we don't want to rush them back. It'd be stupid to get them back. We've actually had it throughout the season when we've rushed boys back, maybe a bit too quick, or they've not been strong enough in the rehab and they broke down. So we know that the most important games for us just now is also the playoffs. So we want as much of the squad and our best players fit and available for that. And if that means that they have to rest or they just get that extra wee day or two just to recover, great. So Gratz come through kind of training today, we'll just manage his load. Alex Bannon the same, Aidan doing the rehab. So like you said, the full focus will be on the kind of playoffs for them. But like I say, if we can introduce some minutes maybe on Friday, then great.
And I suppose, like we were kind of saying, because the playoffs are so grueling, because they can be dramatic, they can be a bit frenetic and frantic at times, guys that do get minutes on Friday, it's partly because you want them to be ready and raring to go should we need to use them during that run of matches.
Of course it is, and it's not just a case you field a team who's not going to play on the Tuesday. You know each game in the playoffs, regardless of who you play, you've got the home factor, away factor, every element comes into it. You look at your thinking, even Dunfermline at the weekend, we knew this kind of state of the pitch, that it wasn't going to be probably as free-flowing football as we maybe like somewhere at home or on a better surface. So we had to adjust. We obviously bring Rico Diak in, Sam Graham, and these guys come in. And then, like I said, on the flip side of that, when we're at home, bigger pitch and stuff, we maybe want a different element to the game. Then you've got personnel there. But the main thing is that we approach the game with everybody's kind of thought in mind, everybody attribute in mind, and like I say, there's more ways to skin a cat than obviously just one way. So we've got to make sure that from now until probably Tuesday and moving forward, that we simplify everything, we keep it kind of personal, clean, we recover well, and we have full focus going into these games.
Does it make it difficult because you know Ayr are going to be perhaps quite significantly changed from the other times we've played them, to prepare for exactly how they'll set up and what to expect for them?
We've played them enough this season, we've played them enough probably that I can't imagine there's going to be something that jumps out at me that I wasn't prepared for, and vice versa. Obviously from Ayr's point of view, that's probably the bit of the league that I don't like. But like I said, it's an awkward one because the games, supporters still come and pay money. You don't want to go out there and have a dead rubber game. You still want to get something out of it, even if it is just maybe certain things that you're looking for during the week, whether it's a message or key elements that you're looking for with the thought during the week in mind and the playoffs in mind. But like I said, in an ideal world, from a coach's point of view, I'd love to get through the game Friday with everybody fit and available, ready to go.
And I suppose ultimately, it's a Rhys McCabe Airdrie team. You're going out to win that match regardless, right?
Of course we are, and like I say, even from a supporters' point of view, you know, I think you just touched on it there. It's been a long time since they've beaten there, so that personal pride thing and kind of personal achievement, we like to get that monkey off our back as well. We're at home, we want to finish the season strong, and give you, like I say, that wee bit of confidence and momentum going into these playoffs that gives the supporters something to get right behind us a bit.
Yeah, it puts a spring in the supporter step as well on a Tuesday if we can come through Friday night and get that victory.
Of course it does, and listen, for large parts of the season, especially the first half, that there was a lot of doom and gloom about the place, and I can understand supporters' frustration and probably seeing their team kind of losing and not at their kind of free-flowing best, which I still think we're getting to that. But since the turn of the year in the back end, there's been a lot more optimism, and like I say, throughout that constant, you know, we've had the support. That's one thing that we say certainly about the club, is that supporting that, of even with myself personally, being very, very kind of patient and supportive, and to the boys on the pitch, even when we're going through a bit of a tough time and stuff, everybody's been fully behind us and kind of know, and we're going to need them, like I say, coming into potentially 4 big massive games.
Brilliant. Rhys, we'll see you Friday night. Thank you.